I hunted my alpha for 3 years with the ferocity of a wildfire. He was the wolf of the lonely peak, the moon-blessed king, and I was the omega from the wilds who dragged him down into the mud. I should have carried that guilt for the rest of my days. So when I found him with another, a high-born female from a noble clan, and he looked at me with cold eyes, saying, "Selina, I've grown weary of your endless trouble," what I felt instead was a cruel, shattering relief. I waited at the entrance of our clan's main den, my nose tasting the cold air for his scent. When the familiar mix of pine and frost finally reached me, I immediately curled onto a pile of warm furs, arranging myself in what I hoped was a pose of lazy seduction. Kale entered, his shadow long and distorted by the firelight, a heavy exhaustion clinging to him like a shroud. I froze, pulling the furs tighter around myself. Guarding the borders so late again? Yes, the moonstone totems at the edge of the territory were showing a disturbance. "We had to be certain," he said, his voice raspy. He moved past me toward the hot springs deep within the cavern. "Wait." He stopped, but didn't turn. "What is it?" I opened my arms to him, my voice a low purr I had to force. I nearly had my bones crushed by a stray dire bear on the hunt today. I need my alpha to give me a hug to restore my strength. He was silent for a moment before letting out a sigh and walking back to me. He wrapped his arms around me, and in that instant, a foreign scent assaulted my senses, not the earthy musk of our gray wolf clan, but the cloying, aggressive sweetness of a silver moon female. I inhaled sharply, my eyes falling to the linen of his tunic, just behind his shoulder. A smear of crimson, like a drop of blood on fresh snow, burned into my vision. I pushed him away. "Turn around." "What madness has seized you now?" I said, "Turn around." He turned with an irritated grunt. There, on the clean white fabric of his shirt, was the perfect, deep red imprint of a woman's lips, mocking my very existence. "What is this?" Kale glanced at his shoulder, his eyes flickering away. "I don't know." I slowly rolled up my sleeves, feeling my claws itch to extend. "Where did you go today, besides the border patrol?" "A gathering of the old allied clans." My eyes narrowed. "The Silver Moon clan was there?" "Yes." I had always trusted him without question, but now a low growl rumbled in my chest. "Did some shameless bitch throw herself at you?" "Perhaps." My growl deepened, ready to tear apart the female who dared poach on my territory. "Who was she?" Kale just stared at me. "Selina, stop this foolishness." Disbelief choked me. "Foolishness?" I advanced on him, my voice trembling with rage. "Tell me, Kale, was it a welcome advance or one you sought out yourself?" "Think whatever you want," he said, his voice flat and cold, before disappearing into the steam of the hot springs. The sound of splashing water was a wall between us. I stared at the flickering fire, my mind a maelstrom. My strong, gentle mate had grown cold and distant. He no longer listened to my tales of the forest, no longer brewed the bitter herbs that soothed the fire in my veins when the full moon drew near. Perhaps this was the natural course of things. Passion fades, leaving only duty and then, finally, disdain. And besides, I was the one who had burdened him from the very beginning. When the splashing stopped, I closed my eyes, feigning sleep. I curled into a tight ball at the very edge of our sleeping furs, leaving a wide, cold space for him. I heard his footsteps, then a heavy, suppressed sigh in the darkness. He lay down and extinguished the last of the firelight. He offered no explanation. I required none. If he craved freedom, I would sever our mating bond myself. It was the least I owed him. The next day, I arrived at the hunters' gathering with dark circles under my eyes. A whirlwind of sunshine and energy bounded over to me, and a pouch of still warm honey cakes was thrust into my hands. I looked up into the handsome, roguish face of Jackson, the young heir to the Silver Moon clan. "Hey, Shadow Eyes," he grinned. "Care to spar with me today?" "No time." "Already 8?" I said curtly. I needed to be the top hunter this cycle to win the clan's quarterly prize, a precious energy crystal. Jackson, as if reading my mind, waved a dismissive hand. "I'll get you the crystal. Come on, help a future warlord hone his skills. The clan's glory tournament is in a few days." His glory tournament was little more than a brawl for over-eager youngbloods. I didn't have the heart to tell him, but the offer was too tempting to refuse. Fine. Sundown. The sparring grounds. "It's a date. See you later." He bounded off, happy as a pup. Being born into power had its perks. He could promise away a life-saving crystal just to secure a training partner. Later, as I walked toward the sparring grounds, I saw Jackson waving from a distance. "Selena." A cold voice stopped me in my tracks. I turned to see Isabella, a high-born warrior of the Silver Moon clan, striding toward me with predatory grace. I knew her well. She had been the leader of Kale's most ardent admirers back when I was first pursuing him. Her eyes flicked from me to Jackson, her face twisting into a mask of disbelief and contempt. "You, fraternizing with the heir of our clan? Have you no shame?" "I'd watch your tongue, Isabella," I said, my voice laced with the chill of the wild, "unless you'd like a reminder of how it feels to taste dirt." Her face paled, the memory of our last disagreement clearly surfacing. She recovered with a sneer. "Lashing out? It's no wonder Kale sought comfort in my arms last night." "What did you say?" "You've worn him down to nothing." He collapsed into my embrace, finally finding a moment of peace. A triumphant blush colored her cheeks. "You didn't know, did you? To pay the blood debt your father left you, Kale has sold off half our clan's defensive runestones. It was I who secretly used my own funds to replace them." "Listen to me, Selena." She leaned in, her voice a venomous whisper. "Stop poisoning him. Kale is destined for greatness. You are not worthy of being his anchor. You are the chains that drag him down." She swept away, leaving me frozen in place. Jackson ran up, his face etched with concern. "What was that about?" "Who was she?" My voice was hollow. "Nothing. Jackson, I can't train today. Go on without me." "Are you sure? Let me walk you back." "No. I need to be alone." I dragged my leaden feet back to the den. Kale was there, quietly reading an ancient tome on Wolfkin runes. I saw the sharp, unforgiving lines of his shoulders, so much thinner than they used to be. The jagged scar on the back of his neck, a wound he took protecting me from a rival clan's ambush, seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Isabella was right. I was his curse. "Kale." He looked up. "Let's dissolve the mating bond." He was silent for so long I thought he hadn't heard. Then, softly, "All right. The blood debt you've paid for me," I began, but he cut me off, closing the book. "Forget it. Being free of you is payment enough. Consider it a severance fee." The truth was finally out. I managed a smile that felt like breaking glass. "But when we first—" "I was young and arrogant," he said, his voice devoid of emotion. "I swore an alpha's oath to protect you. But since that day, my clan has been shackled to your endless debt. I am an alpha who can barely feed his own people. My clan's honor is in tatters. It was my choice, yes, but you, Selena, you truly are a walking disaster." I lowered my head. "I'm sorry. I'll disappear. I won't be a burden to you anymore." "Good." A genuine smile, one of pure relief, touched his lips for the first time in months. He pointed to a satchel. "Pack my things." "Where are you going?" "To the Silver Moon clan. Isabella has brokered a stronger alliance." He smiled again, and it was like a knife in my gut. The den is yours. I will petition the elders in a few days to have our bond formally severed. He left. I sat in the cold, silent den until his scent had completely faded on the wind. A bitter gale howled outside. As I moved to secure the leather flap over the entrance, I saw a lone figure on a bench down the mountain path, shivering in the wind. My heart seized. I ran. But by the time I reached the path, a lavish carriage drawn by 4 white stallions had already arrived. Isabella stepped out, taking Cale's satchel from him, her smile a beacon of gentle victory. She would take good care of him. Is less than #0. 6 is greater than. That was good. The end of the month payment was looming. My father's disastrous mistake in a clan war had left us with a blood debt to the brutal Bloodfang clan, a debt that required a monthly tribute worth 30,000 gold marks. My earnings as a hunter, after my own bare-bones survival, amounted to 8,000. I took on the deadliest jobs: a mercenary in the human cities, a pit fighter in the underground circuits. Even then, I was short. I avoided everyone, especially Jackson. My father's curse was my own, and I would not let it touch anyone else. On the day of the payment, I contacted the Bloodfang chieftain, Tusk, through a communication crystal. What? Why is the tribute short again? His roar echoed from the crystal. I humbly explained, Chieftain Tusk, grant me a few more days. I will deliver double next month. We have never been late before. The word we felt like ash in my mouth. There was only me now. Excuses. A blood debt is a blood debt. You will pay it, even if it's with your last breath. I was silent for a beat, then my voice turned to ice. Tusk, I hear your youngest son attends a boarding school in the human city, not far from where I often work. You dare threaten me? You insane bitch. The clan laws will have you torn apart. I laughed, a cold, sharp sound. You're one to speak of laws. He faltered. Fine. Next month is less than #0. 4 is greater than with interest. That weekend, I met Tusk's envoy in a dark alley to deliver the goods. It was a trap. 4 of his thugs cornered me, weapons drawn. Someone paid a high price for your leg, little wolf, the leader sneered. I discreetly activated the emergency beacon I wore, then held it up. The clan enforcers are on their way. Your last chance to run. They hesitated, then charged with renewed fury. I was fast, but I was exhausted and outnumbered. Just as an iron bar was about to smash my skull, a blur of motion intervened. Jackson. He moved like a storm, dispatching the thugs with contemptuous ease and shielding me with his body. When the enforcers arrived, he was gently applying a rare healing salve to my wounds. Are you two mated? The captain asked, frowning at our proximity. No, I said quickly. He's my brother. See that it stays that way, the captain said sternly. Interfering with a mated pair is a grave offense. Jackson took me to the abandoned watchtower where we had first met. He told me a story about being a boy, scorned by his family for wanting to be a warrior instead of a diplomat. He'd hidden here, miserable, when a tough-looking wolf-kin girl with streaks of charcoal under her eyes had found him. She'd shared her stale bread and told him, a dream is something you take with your own claws and teeth. That girl, he said, his eyes fixed on mine. She eventually washed the grime away and became a brilliant warrior. I thought she had found an alpha who could make her happy. But now he's thrown you away. Selena, maybe Look! I shouted, pointing at the sky. Is that the legendary skyship of K-God? He fell for it, looking around wildly before pouting. You tricked me again. Kid, I said, ruffling his hair. Don't get any funny ideas. Focus on your training. One day you'll fight beside him for real." He fell silent. Then, his playful mask slipped back on. "Hey, debtor. Call me Lord Jackson and I'll lend you the money." I flicked him on the forehead. "In your dreams." Suddenly, fireworks from a distant festival exploded across the night sky, brilliant and fleeting. I remembered my promise with Kale. When we were finally free of all our burdens, we would set off the grandest fireworks display the world had ever seen. A horrifying thought clawed its way into my mind. I raced back to the den and tore through the few belongings Kale had left behind. Tucked within the pages of the ancient rune tome, I found a locked journal. The password was my birth date. Every line I read was a blade twisting in my heart. Kale had never betrayed me. He was afflicted with an ancient curse known as the moon blight, a hereditary disease that slowly devours an alpha's wolf spirit and life force, eventually turning them into a mindless, savage beast. His coldness, his cruelty, it was all an act, is less than #0. 4# is greater than the lipstick stain, the foreign scent. It was all a desperate, clumsy performance designed to destroy my love for him, to drive me away before he lost control and hurt me. He had even taken out a massive life insurance policy, with the payout designated to me and his parents enough to clear the blood debt and provide for them after he was gone. The fool! He had planned a future for everyone but himself. My hands shaking, I contacted Jackson. My voice broke on the first word. "Lord Jackson." Well, finally showing some respect?" He teased, but his tone shifted instantly. "Selina? What's wrong? What happened?" "Jackson, I need to borrow money. 500,000 gold marks." The silence on the other end was deafening. I knew this was a fortune, even for him. "All right," he finally said, his voice grim. 500,000, right? Just wait for me, Selina." I found Kale's farewell letter tucked away. "My Selina, by the time you read this, I will have gone to join the stars. Do not grieve for me. My journey has simply ended before yours. Because of you, my short life burned as brightly as any firework. Live well and carry my light with you. Yours, always, Kale." Tears soaked the parchment. I dried them, took the money from Jackson, and paid off the blood debt in one lump sum. Then I went to Kale's homeland. There, I found him, gaunt and frail, secretly negotiating with Tusk, offering his last remaining assets in exchange for a promise that the chieftain would not harass me after his death. That proud alpha, bowing to the scum of the earth for my sake. My heart shattered. I contacted Isabella and told her everything. She was shocked, and to her credit, immediately offered her own savings. I knew what we had to do. Curing the moon blight required an ancient, costly cleansing ritual, one that could only be performed by a legendary, reclusive great shaman. I confessed everything to Kale's parents and gave them all the money, begging them to convince Kale to undergo the ritual. To make Kale let go of me completely, I made one last, terrible sacrifice. With Isabella as my witness, I called Kale's parents and spoke the cruelest words I could conjure, disowning them and severing all ties. Then I changed my communication crystal's frequency. I knew Kale would believe Isabella was his sole benefactor. He could accept the healing without the burden of my love, and perhaps begin a new life with her. With the 20,000 gold marks Isabella gave me as hush money, I anonymously contacted the great shaman myself, paying him a premium to ensure he used the most powerful and safest version of the ritual. It was the last thing I could do for him. I left the city, but I remained in contact with the shaman. He told me Kale's condition was grim. The curse had taken deep root. The chances of success were slim. I couldn't stay away. On the eve of the ritual, I snuck back. I watched from the shadows as the curse ravaged him. He was thin and pale, often lost in delirium. But sometimes, in lucid moments, he would stare at his empty palm as if holding a precious memory, and a faint smile would touch his lips. Isabella was there every day, tending to him with expensive tonics and a gentle patience I never knew she possessed. I told myself to stay hidden, to not disturb their fragile peace. The day of the ritual arrived. As Cale was carried into the ceremonial hall, his gaze swept across the crowd and seemed to lock onto my hiding spot. In his clouded eyes, a flicker of recognition, of light, sparked. I couldn't hold back any longer. I ran forward, but the great stone doors were already closing. Isabella saw me and her face contorted with rage. "You dare show your face here?" But Cale's mother rushed to me, pulling me into a fierce embrace. She turned on Isabella, her voice shaking with anger. "Enough. Cale couldn't stomach any of the rich food you brought. When he was sick, I saw the disgust on your face. We didn't use a single coin of your money. The shaman was paid by my daughter-in-law. I only recognized Selena." Isabella, exposed and furious, demanded I return her money. I showed her the contract she had so hastily signed, the one that specified a verbal severing of ties. She fled in humiliation. "You've suffered, my child." Cale's parents wept, holding me tight. "We are a family. We will pray for him together. Is less than #0. 6# is greater than." "Yes," I sobbed, my heart filled with a desperate hope. Together. I felt it then, a certainty in my soul. A miracle was about to happen. Outside, against all odds, the winter plum blossoms bloomed in the snow. The ritual was a success. The curse was broken. Cale was weak, but his life force, his wolf spirit, was returning day by day. When I returned to his recovery room with his favorite honey cakes, Isabella was there, making one last desperate plea. She showed him a captured image of Jackson and me, trying to sow doubt. "Cale," I said, walking into the room and taking the image from her. "Tell her, who is she to you?" Cale's eyes, clear and bright for the first time in a year, never left my face. His voice was soft but firm. "Her father is an ally of my father. As for her, I don't know her." Isabella finally broke. She fled, and we never saw her again. "Oh?" I teased Cale, a joyful laugh bubbling up inside me. "So quick to discard your old allies?" "My lady," he said, capturing my hand. His smile was wicked. "I have a whole continent of allies, but only one mate." "And the lipstick? The perfume?" He pulled me closer, his eyes dancing. "The perfume was from a shop. The lipstick." He paused, then whispered, "I stole it from your pouch and kissed my own shirt." I collapsed against him, laughing until tears streamed down my face. "Is less than #0. 6# is greater than." News of Cale's miraculous recovery spread through the clans. The Great Council requested an audience. Facing the assembly of alphas, Cale seemed at a loss for words, until an old elder asked, "Besides the shaman's great magic, what power sustained you and helped you conquer the moonblight?" Cale's eyes lit up. He smiled and slowly reached into his pocket. He held out his closed fist, and then, before the entire council, he opened it. Resting on his palm was a single heart-shaped pink candy, the cheap kind I used to give him when we were just kids with nothing but a foolish dream. The council was silent, confused. Cale turned his head and beckoned to us. "Father, Mother, Selena. Come here." We stood beside him, our hands linked, a family forged in fire and shadow. An artist captured the moment, a portrait of unwavering love. The portrait was sent to every clan with a simple title, Love is the ultimate magic. I, the stray from the wilds, the walking disaster, had finally found my home.